Hey guys, what's up? So when it comes to a pre-buy, there's a couple of things that you're going to be looking at. You're going to be looking at doing a logbook review, a physical inspection of the aircraft. You're going to want to be pulling panels. You're going to want to be checking the engines, doing borescopes, test flight. You know, every deal is going to be different, but there are a couple of things that you want to always be mindful of. So let's talk about reviewing the engine logbook. So as we're looking at the engine logbooks, we're really making sure that all of the logbooks are complete. That means you have all records from birth to the present. There's no gaps in years, basically, is what you're looking for. You'd love to see that the engine logbooks are organized well. That means that there's attention to detail there. But if they're not organized, it's not the end of the world. At the same time, make sure you have all the airframe, and then each engine's going to come with its own logbook because it tells the story of the engine. Maybe the engine came from another plane, so on and so forth. They all have incredible stories behind them. A couple things to look out for. You know, when were the major inspections done? Who did the major inspections? Were they written down correctly? You want to look for damage history, 337s. You want to look for when parts are replaced. Why were parts replaced? Were there any ferry flights that were done because of damage history? And just kind of get to know the plane a little bit through the logbooks. The next thing you want to do is a preliminary visual inspection. Walk around the plane, make sure it's as advertised, and make sure that there was nothing, crazy going on. I remember one time we did a preliminary visual inspection. As soon as we got there, we noticed the carpet was actually full of crayons. And what had happened was, when we looked back, and was like, how come we never saw this before? We noticed that all the advertising photos were from the chairs up, so you never actually saw the carpet. So it wasn't a deal killer. We found out the owners just had kids, and we were going to be able to get out that crayon stain no problem. But that's something you want to make sure with the preliminary visual inspection is basically as advertised. A couple other things you might want to do is, sit in the chairs, make sure that they all work. Play with the windshields. The windshields are notorious for malfunctioning. Not that it's a deal killer, but you want to know what you're getting yourself into. If the plane is already turned on a battery or GPU, or the engines are running, check the lights. Make sure that the lights are going to work. Make sure that the tables function correctly. Make sure there's nothing kind of janky that's going on. Now, every plane, especially the older that it is going to have its own idiosyncrasy. So I would encourage you, it's not necessarily a deal breaker if a chair's squeaky, or if a chair doesn't work right or whatever. Just make a note of it. We're here to do our due diligence when it comes to a pre-buy. You're trying to find things that are wrong with it, just so that you know exactly what you're getting into through this purchase. Following the preliminary visual, we're going to start pulling panels, getting a little bit more into detail about what's going on with the aircraft, making sure there's no corrosion. Check the lavatory area, check for fuel leaks. So you're actually going to fill the plane up with fuel and let it sit overnight. Make sure nothing leaks out. You're going to be looking at the windows, the prism, make sure there's no cracks, or if there are cracks, which there's likely to be, that they're within limits, and how that's going to impact your future with this plane as well. So now we're getting into a little bit more of a survey. Everyone's going to be different. Some people do full inspections, a phase 1 through 4 inspection, a 5 inspection, if it's coming due for that. So a lot of options here, but you're basically making sure now that the airplane is not just as advertised, but that it's safe to operate. Lastly, let's take it for a test flight. Let's make sure that, all the systems and avionics are functioning correctly, making sure the GPS is locking on, making sure that the landings are locking on, make sure there's no lights that are staying on that are supposed to go out, making sure nothing's inoperable, making sure that it flies well. I mean, that's important, obviously. And just, making sure the engines are reporting correctly. Just all of those little things that happen, in flight that you can't test. Pressurization is also going to be an important one. Taking up to altitude and making sure the pressurization holds. So all these things are going to be addressed in the test flight. Finally, once we're done with the test flight, we're going to bring it back, and any of the squawks that popped up, we're just going to make a list and we're going to present it to the seller. And depending on the deal that you have, either you're going to have to accept or reject the plane as is, where is, or either it might be we might be going to a shop to repair anything that's an airworthiness item. That means that the plane legally cannot fly without these things being fixed. So we're back to the negotiation phase, but this has been a quick overview of kind of what goes on during the survey. So I hope this was helpful for you. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe button for more information on that JetLife, so that you can have that life to the fullest.